And in the fourth set of Group B of the IM in-house King of the House or Clash of the Houses tournament, we have I Am True, the Zerg player, versus I Am Yoda, the Terran player. As always, we start on IC Cup Test Bug.
All right, TVZ. It's been a while.
It has. I'm very excited for this to see how I Am Terrans play TVZ. I Am is a very Zerg-oriented house, so Yoda must get a lot of TVZ practice.
Yep.
So here, the blue Terran, we have I Am Yoda, and then against him we have I Am True, the red Zerg.
You gotta imagine that Yoda's a pretty good Terran. I mean, you do have possibly the best Terran in StarCraft 2 right now, MVP on the team as well. So yeah, can't blame him there. I'm True saying something. I'm Yoda responding. We'll never know. It's a mystery for the ages.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you know. I don't know.
I don't know what it means, but it's nado.
Oh. Well, there you go.
Yep.
All right. Well, so ZVT on IC Cup Test Bug. I have to admit that I haven't seen a lot of TVZs on this map, so I'm not as familiar with the common, openings that you see a lot. So I guess by default we'll just talk about kind of the common openings in TVZ in general. Lately, I'm wondering, and here's the thing I'm wondering, one thing MVP has been doing a lot is getting either 2 or 3 barracks, whatever it takes, to wall off his front, then a command center, then going for 2 gas, getting tank marine, and then pushing out across on 2 bases. Now, since Yoda probably practices with MVP all the time and sees what he plays, I wonder if some of that's rubbed off on him, or if Yoda's going to have kind of his own unique TVZ style. It's going to be interesting to see which one of those it's going to be. Now our Zerg player, of course, has a lot of options ahead of him. Most Zergs would go hatch first in this matchup, but it looks like he's decided to go gas before pool, so really getting a fast Zergling speed, maybe just not wanting to deal with the possibility of a bunker rush on his natural. That can be very, very annoying as a Zerg player. But, I don't know, it's a big map.
Yeah, it's a big map, and it's a map they've played very little on before, so this is their first TVZ matchup on it. This is IC Cup Test Bug, a custom map, getting a lot of notoriety in the North American and European scene, being used in MLG and some of the ESL tournaments. Starting to try to bring it over to the Asian scene to see what they think about the American-style custom maps. There's the GSL maps coming from Ellis and Jackie Prime that are really helping to evolve the style of StarCraft 2 and make it a lot more interesting for the spectators. But yeah, as you were saying, bunker rushes might be a little bit, or it might be something that I Am True is actually a little afraid of. So he's sticking to a 1 base, not trying to go for any sort of fast expansion.
Run SCV.
While I Am Yoda was doing a no gas expansion, sort of what you were talking about, but not quite. He only gets a few Marines out there for a little bit of defense. But then he drops down the expansion and then a bunker to be able to defend against any sort of early poke aggression, but not any sort of all-in aggression. So if I Am True were to actually go all-in, he would have a huge advantage in the situation, but it's a rock, paper, scissors type opening.
Yeah, one of the other things with that, with the opening is that the 1 racks expand, it does have that vulnerability. You don't have as many Marines as you would with obviously a 2 racks expand. In fact, I think with a 2 racks expand, you'd probably have twice as many Marines. But it looks like Yoda deciding to put down a couple more barracks. He's probably going to float the other one over there to try to complete that wall off and kind of stay safe. But yeah, wow, really in a dangerous position actually right now. Those Zerglings could potentially just run right by. The speed was done pretty early, so I don't know. We're going to have to see what True decides to do.
Yeah, but the fact that you drop down these 2 barracks and you form this wall, which I believe is tight, and I believe Yoda believes it's tight as well, you force the Zerglings to run really far around. And while they're running around here, they're essentially running the gauntlet from the Marines. You're going to pick off a few immediately, and then you drop your Marines out the back and you wall off the ramp with your Marines. So it's really not that dangerous to do what Yoda is doing here, except against some sort of like Baneling all-in type push. But we're not seeing Banelings, we're actually seeing Roaches. This little Zergling's being lazy is not actually helping in the destroying the rocks.
Wow, he's fired.
He'll be the first to run into the battle. But the economy is roughly even, a little bit in Terran's favor, obviously, because there are 2 mules on the field. He is also getting supply block temporarily. It does happen sometimes for these pro players, not a lot, but sometimes the builds are
supply blocked.
so tuned that any little discrepancy in what they're used to practicing, and they're going to be down for a little bit. So these supply depots are actually here to defend the bunker here. If there were to be any sort of baneling push, it wouldn't be able to attack the bunker immediately. However, the splash on the supply depots actually still hits the bunker a little bit. But usually that's enough of a buffer to keep it alive and be able to defend your base.
Now, the choice to go roaches is kind of interesting because against something like Marine Marauder that doesn't work terribly well, and against Marine Siege Tank, it works okay, but you need to have a lot of other things to kind of go along with it. It's tough to go Muta and Roach at the same time. You can just go big, amounts of Lings and Roaches, but that's something that you really don't see quite as often. So I'm kind of curious to see how True is going to follow this up. The way he's doing it seems a little bit risky. Siege mode isn't quite finished yet, but I don't think he's going to be able to really cause that much damage. I mean, the Engineering Bay probably going to finish. Yeah, indeed, it does finish. This wall looks pretty solid, but I don't think the SCVs can actually get in and repair that. Yeah, having to lower a couple supply depots to get in and repair that. Siege mode almost done. The Engineering Bay not going down, but a lot of minerals being used by the Terran player to keep that up.
The minerals are being used by Yoda to repair this. However, it would have been better for True to be taking out the SCVs here and prevent future minerals from happening. And after the siege mode's done, he is going to be forced to pull back a little bit. It's nice to see these timings come out like they were in StarCraft 1. It was always like a, oh, is he going to die? Oh no, siege mode's done. Alright, he's fine. And then it moves into a mid-game. But we are seeing a lot of Tier 2 upgrades coming out here for the Zerg player. He is going to be trying to obviously defend his base against any sort of all-in from the Terran if they were to go bit-by-bit style, but also be able to get ready to do some harassment with the Zerglings. I don't know exactly why he's getting so many right now, because he can't push the front at this point unless he had Banelings, which he doesn't. So really, it would have been better to... Oh, missed a drop here. Sorry, guys.
Well, that's a reason to make some Zerglings.
Very true. So it would have been better to use that larva and those minerals on getting a few extra drones, make sure you're 100% saturated. It's pretty good saturation here, but it's not perfect. And then when you are actually ready for a fight, that's when you start making all the Zerglings.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that I like that he is getting his third. This is kind of the time that the Zerg has to kind of deal with a little bit less pressure than he normally would. I mean, he does have to worry about the drops, of course, but he doesn't need to worry about a big Marine siege tank for at least a minute or two. So that's time to drone up. It's time to just kind of worry about drops. It's time to get your upgrades going, take a third. So by walling off like that, the Zerg really does have a lot of opportunity to get a really nice economy going. And drops like this are a little bit of harassment, but not such a big deal to a seasoned Zerg player. As you can see, this drop really hasn't been able to cause much damage at all, just because of the speed that Speedlings can get around the map right now. And once those Mutalisks come out too, then even the drops aren't going to happen. That's when we're going to see the big Marine tank push. And if the Zerg is macroed correctly, they should be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's very true. And unfortunately, the Zerg's expanding a little slower than he really should have. When he saw the wall in, he really needed to go immediately and get the expansion up and get the economy going. These tanks are going to be going for a little bit of a slow push, preemptively sieging, but just to be safe. Better to be safe against the Banelings than overextend a little bit.
Yeah, well, we've seen Lucira crush many a Terran player, and I'm sure that True can do the same thing. Again, these are incredible miracle Zergs, some of the most fearsome Zergs on the planet. And I like the siege tank spread, very, very good there, scanning to take out some creep tumors. That's exactly what you want to do. Zerg player, oh, here he comes! A decent amount of mutas, some Banelings. He does need to split it to make sure that the tanks don't take too many of them out at once. Banelings on tanks, but it's okay because that tank did go down, but it's just not going to be enough. Actually, never mind. Some roaches were off the screen that I did not see. Okay, so the Marines do go down. Those tanks are left unattended, and they will be taken out by the Mutalisks. A couple Marines coming in right now, but he decided to get Marauders as well, which is kind of an interesting choice. Oh, 2 tanks in the medevac. That was risky. Man, one little bit of micro from those Mutalisks resulted in a big loss of those 2 tanks.
Another interesting thing to see is that the Terran player actually moved out before getting stim. He delayed a long time on that. I don't know if that was intentional based on this build, or if it was a little bit of an oversight there, because if he had stim, he would have been able to reinforce this army a lot faster and take out a lot more of those Mutalisks than he really did.
Honestly, here comes through again. He has a good amount of Banelings. The tank sieging up maybe a little bit late. Looks like he's been taken out by the Banelings. Getting in and hitting the Marauders, it's not going to help too much. The Roaches do need to fall back. Yeah, actually a little bit sloppy play by both players this game, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was absolutely no split at all by Yoda. I think he thought he was safe, but there were still two Banelings that made it to the front of his bio army and took out a lot of units that really shouldn't have died at all. Mistakes like that can cost you the game in a higher level game.
This is high level, but at the same time, like we kind of mentioned earlier too, the fact that these players probably play together all the time might be causing them to do some things that they wouldn't normally do, kind of try to surprise each other. For instance, doing this sort of push. Like, look at this. He went Marine Tank, added on Marauders, bunch of Medivacs, now he's going for a big drop. I mean, that's not something you see very often. So this is the type of thing that I would do to my teammate to just completely throw them off. So to a certain extent, they're kind of having fun and playing around, but it's not quite as effective as like standard play would be. But who knows? By doing things like this, you might find something that is, maybe even better. But this drop could certainly do a lot of damage. Oh, the Overlord does spot it. That's definitely something to be worried about. One medevac dropping off some units, trying to take down that queen that cuts on the production. The other medevacs moving onto the other base. That actually caused a lot more damage than I would have normally thought it could have.
Not only did it cause damage, but it did pull away a few of the units. He did lose an entire medevac of units there, though. And he is going to lose another one to the Mutalisks. Oh, that is huge. Oh, but he's going to be able to save everything else, so it's not horrible. It's just very good for the Zerg player right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, those Marines in that medevac will not be able to redeem their frequent flyer miles because they are dead, of course. I don't know if Marines actually get frequent flyer miles. They should. I mean, they're in medevacs all the time, but you don't really go that far. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but you get a minimum per trip, I think. It's not like flying from the US to Korea, but it's still pretty good. Alright, so we do have these units going to get surrounded. He can't actually lift them up, otherwise these Mutalisks will take out... Oh, he's going to lift them up anyway. But they're all going to be taken out by the Mutalisks, so it's kind of a waste. So I don't know why he did that.
Well, it's... I think, like we were saying earlier, he's just trying something that he's hoping True isn't going to expect. If I was playing against a Terran player and I saw a big, Marine tank push, I probably wouldn't be expecting it to turn into, like, big bio ball drop play. That's a little bit odd, although it looks like it's not really working out as well as he'd expected or hoped, I suppose. Looks like another drop here is going to be cleaned up pretty quickly by those Mutalisks. Not going to lose a whole lot to that, maybe one or two.
We do have a lot of upgrades coming out here for the Terran player, though, and because he was able to take out that third base from I Am True, he is going to be able to get a pretty good force that can kind of deathball its way across the map in a little while.
Well, double expanding as well to kind of make up for that. So our Zerg player is trying to get his economy back as well. I saw him making a lot of Banelings here, so he should be pretty safe for now, although the third base for I'm Yoda is getting about ready to get going. But here comes the Zerg army. He's not going to let it happen. Some Roaches mixed in with Banelings. Kind of interesting compositions. Oh, he needs to be careful not to run into those tanks, but I think he's going to anyway. Oh, tons of siege tanks. A terrible mistake by our Zerg player. He did deny the third. However, he did lose a lot of those units. Marines running up, trying to bait the Roaches back into the tanks. They take a little bit more damage, but the Mutalisks may be able to take down that command center. Roaches pushing in again, but again, not able to really attack the siege tank line. That command center not taking a whole lot of damage. It will be repaired. So other than kind of preventing some mining time and preventing that third base from going, I'm sure really losing a lot of units, but that may end up working to his advantage because he will be able to replenish a little bit faster once bases 3 and 4 go up.
Yeah, and the gold base is starting to mine. Oh, well, it should be starting to mine. For some reason, he's choosing to mine out of this regular mineral patch, probably because it's further away from his expansion and it is safer. Yeah. But it would be nice to see him get a bit of the benefit from this gold before transitioning to a safer location. He also isn't keeping control of the Zelnaga tower, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. However, he is moving in with a very strong force of Mutalisks here. He's going to be able to take out a lot of SCVs. He's actually able to fight this Marine force as well if he wanted to. But he's got to be careful not to get too clumped because there are Thors somewhere on the field.
Oh, really?
There's
one. There he is.
Completely far away, so
Yep.
he might have been afraid of the Thor, but
I would be.
he could have done a lot more damage than he really did there.
Well, it's always good to be careful with Mutalisks, too. For instance, if you look at July Zerg's play, he's very, I like to say, cavalier with his Mutalisks. He tends to lose quite a few of those. Excuse me. Sometimes that's okay, but a lot of times it can be bad, too. If you lose all those Mutalisks, you've got really nothing to support your Lings and Banelings, so you've got nothing to keep those Marines running away. They can just split and take them out instead. So, yeah, it's good to use the Mutalisks, but at the same time, you can't lose too many of them, or you're in big trouble.
That is very true. And a lot of the power of the Zerg army, it's exponentially better as you have more units.
Yep, that's right. If your Mutaball gets up to, like 15 or more Mutalisks, it gets pretty unstoppable. Where right now, he's at about 13 or so, I think.
Yep.
And so he's close, but he's still at that point where he needs to be pretty careful. That group of Marines right there could cause some damage.
But we do have +3 from the bio coming out in a little bit, and there's only
Yeah.
+1 attack from the Mutalisks and 0 armor. So
Yeah,
once
another reason to be very careful.
Yeah. +3 bio is very, very scary for a Zerg.
Yep, so Mutalisk still going about the field. He may actually find the small group of Terran units in the bottom left corner of the map. I'm not sure if they're expanding or if that's just a medevac or two. Yeah, it looks like it is just a medevac, and one lone Marine being left behind. He will guard those minerals for future use. Here come a couple of Banelings. Are the Marines going to get away? A couple of them taken out. Sure, smartly pulling back there. So right now, things... I don't know. I want to say looking fairly even, but the Mule is taking a lot of damage from the Thor right there.
Yeah, the splash damage of the Thor kind of negates the Star 1 style Mutamarco where you keep them on top of each other. A lot of StarCraft 1 players still haven't adjusted to being able to do the magic box spreading, but once they start doing that a bit more, it's going to be a lot more powerful against Thors, a lot less powerful against things like Marines.
Alright, looks like there's a fight going on in the middle of the map. More creep tumors being taken out. True looking like he wants to attack. Again, interesting composition. Roaches, Lings and Banelings and Mutas. This is a huge army coming in there, but there's so many tanks, it's going to be very, very difficult to break that.
That was a very poor decision by the Zerg to push in against that. He knew there were so many tanks. You really can't attack that straight on. He needed to do something like coming over, split the Terran army away in some way, and then try to fight whatever army is smallest.
There's really not a lot of upgrades either for that Zerg player. He's not really able to go after that. He is getting Carapace level 2, but I don't know about the weapon. Looks like those Marines need to pull back and get within tank range.
As long as he doesn't get trapped by too many Banelings, he is going to do quite well here. This is Yoda. However, a lot of his bio is very, very hurt. He does need to wait a little bit before going in so that his medevacs can heal up his bio units.
Yeah, I think a lot of those Marines can't even be stimmed. Wow, even stimming Marines to get to the battle. Very, very bold. One Baneling would be very bad for all those Marines.
One burrowed Baneling.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Mutalisks going after the tanks, catching the Terran army a little bit out of position. But the Terran with all the attacks does a lot of damage. Oh, here comes all the Speedlings and Banelings again, running into the tanks, but it's just not going to be enough.
This is a very nice position by the Zerg player to come in from multiple angles. He is able to take down most of those tanks, which is actually huge because it allows him to macro back up with all these Zerglings and be able to take down the bio army a little bit. A lot of the drones were taken down from the gold, but not quite enough. However, this bio army was able to survive for now and take out the gold. As soon as the reinforcements from the Zerg do come in, though, that might push this army back a little bit.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, too, is the income for the Terran player is really starting to go down. Yeah, he's trying to take that gold. He's going to land it before he even takes out the rocks. His first two bases are completely mined out, I think, from what I can see here. And his third is probably starting to get about halfway down or so. Yeah, about halfway down right now, a little bit over. and his first 2 bases are mined out. So really, he's got to start to play really defensively, and this is I'm True's opportunity to maybe take another base or 2 while his opponent has to kind of turtle up. But no, he's going to attack and then pull back because he doesn't quite have enough.
So the interesting thing is that we did see the Muta numbers drop from almost 16 down to 2. So the Mutas aren't quite as scary, which gives the tanks a bit more power. It's a lot harder for Zerg to take out the tanks with the ground army. But there are a lot fewer tanks than there were just a moment ago.
Yeah, now I wouldn't be surprised at all to see I'm True kind of cut roaches out completely and just go Ling Muta at this point and add, Banelings on, of course, too. Here comes kind of a what I would probably call last-ditch effort push from Yoda. If this push fails, it's going to be very, very hard to replenish. He's going to need to be very, very careful. Small amount of Banelings there, and none of them get to the Marines. They are obviously they are too slow. Roach is coming in as well, but again, the upgrades aren't there. I think there's 2 weapon upgrades for vehicles right now, 3 for Marines, so a very huge DPS for us right now. And yeah, this push may actually be able to cause a lot of damage, taking out 1 expansion already. And again, speaking of people being mined out, the main and natural for our Zerg player are completely gone. This is his only mining base. He does have infestors. He's going to be able to make it work though. No neural parasite. He's going to try to get fungal growth, but the infestor has no energy. After headbutting a Thor, it does meet its end.
And Terran realizing that now is his opportunity, he can go and try to take out the tech of the Zerg. There's not a whole lot of defense here at the moment, so he is able to take out everything, and I Am True calls GG.
Wow. Wow, so kind of, like we mentioned, a little bit sloppy play from both players, but in the end, it was just kind of the attacks from I'm True that kept losing him so many units. It caused him to spend all his resources and not really get a lot out of it. So,
that in addition to the +3/+2 for the bio upgrades is really what gave Yoda the advantage in that fight.
Yeah, upgrades are definitely
It's
huge.
very difficult for a Zerg to fight against a fully upgraded Terran army. So once again, getting your next replay loaded up. And you can head to www.cyber-sports.net to check out the current status of the Clash after the Clash Pro Amateur Open tournament in North America. A lot of good North American players playing in that. I'm not exactly sure the status of it. I think they're up to either the quarterfinals or the semifinals already. So going a little faster than us.
Yeah.
And that was being casted on glhf.tv.
Alright, and huge thanks again for joining us today, guys, of course. This is CSN, Clash of the Houses. Incredible miracle in-house tournament with Doa and Torch.
Hi.
So happy to be casting. Man, it's less than 6 hours till I cast Code A.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
That's awesome. Less than an hour or 2 hours until I get my nose cut up. Anyway, so we have here True versus Yoda Game 2 on Metalopolis for the IM in-house Clash of the Houses tournament. Brought to you by CSN and Justin TV.
Let's do it. Alright.
So here we...
go ahead. No, by all means.
Here we have in blue, it's the Terran player I Am Yoda. He eliminated me from the most recent Code A qualifier.
Oh.
But then he didn't actually qualify himself, so I'm very disappointed about that. And he, because he didn't qualify, he actually had to shave his head.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Looks very different now. So he will be playing against the Red Zerg, I Am True. They are in close air positions, so I Am True is going to scout this quite soon. Really what you want to do as the Zerg player, if you're scouting like this, you want to just skirt just within vision of the command center. So you know where the Terran is, but you don't let him know that you know that.
Now, Yoda, on the other hand, should be sending an SCV up to scout as well. I think I'm True is just going to allow himself to be seen. Nope, maybe not.
Yep, so he saw that Yoda was here, and he backed out immediately. A lot of times the Terran will send out an SCV at the proper time just to see if the scout is there. But Yoda choosing not to do that.
Yeah, very good idea to send that SCV out. And interesting thing, too, is the timing works so that, say you send your scout out in close ground positions, when you're scouting that base, make sure you run the scout all the way up to the top part of that base, because you can also catch the Overlord coming from the top part. The timing works out exactly right for that. So when you scout that base, don't just poke up and look for the command center. Run him all the way up so you can catch Overlords, too.
I did not know that timing.
Yep. It works for 9 Pylon with Protoss or the 10 Supply Depot with Terran. Yeah. There you go. The more you know. Drone getting in the base. He's going to try to bite that barracks as it's being constructed. Kind of silly to think about a drone kind of like clawing at a building for a little bit. It's not really something you would normally be worried about, but the SCV will start to push the drone around like a little shopping cart. Nope, going back to mining for now. And the drone, thinking about suicide, decides instead to continue to scout the base.
Yeah, you want to keep the scout in as long as possible, especially since the Terran usually will wall off. Keeping that drone in there and alive gives you the ability to scout whatever the secondary tech is. And if he scouts anytime soon, he's going to see that there's no gas here. The only thing that you can do as a Terran is to get a bunch of barracks and go all in with Marines, or go for an expansion. I assume we're probably going to see an expansion here because that's what Yoda did last time. Probably what he practiced a lot. Unfortunately for that drone, he did get taken out before he did see anything of note.
Yeah, really the close air positions isn't the best for that all-in either. Just because you kind of walk along the side of their base and they're kind of like, oh, look, he's coming all in. They have a little bit of extra time to prepare for it, rather. And it's just very risky. I mean, all in means, well, it's cheese, essentially, which means that if it fails, you lose, basically. So, and if it's discovered, there's a good chance that you're going to lose as well. Hence the term. So, looks like we might have a little bit of early Marine aggression coming in, but that's probably not going to last too long, depending on how well these Zerglings are controlled. If they're kind of wasted, then the Marines could push. And that's plenty of Marines to handle those Zerglings. We do have 2 more in production, but a big amount of drones being produced as well. Just putting on a little bit of fake pressure, trying to get some more Zerglings being produced instead of drones. Harvester count is even right now.
That's the main thing as the Terran is. You're not trying to do any sort of kill move with this. All you need to do is move forward, force the Zerglings. Once you've done that, your entire purpose is done, and you can just go home. A lot of Terrans overextend a bit and try to do that, like, actual visible damage, but you don't really need to. Especially since... Oop, pause the game.
That's pause.
Especially since once you get that second expansion up there, you're actually producing rather quickly, and you also have 2 mules. Well, in a little bit you'll have 2 mules, so your economy is much greater than the Zerg, even right in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, we've even seen players like Slayer's MMA decide to get a 3rd command center in their main and just pump out a ton of SCVs, and that sometimes works quite well. It's kind of an investment, but at the same time, the mules and SCVs you get let you macro out much faster on 2 bases. Makes that tank push come that much faster. And we're not going to see it this game, but that's something that other Terran players have started to be doing in this matchup.
So Speedling, yeah.
They are Speedlings.
Adrenaline, please?
True.
What's the actual name of it?
Metabolic Boost.
Metabolic Boost, just finished, so it gives the Zerglings the ability to run in there and scout that. Yes, there is a fast expansion up there. You can tell exactly when it was built based on the energy of the orbital commands, if it is actually finished. So we are seeing almost the exact same build by Yoda. He went for the fast expansion off 1 racks and then is switching to the Marine and tank heavy build. It's relatively safe. The timings are quite nice, especially on a map like this where you can get your tanks on the cliff to be able to defend the main walkway for the Zerg to get to your base to be able to attack.
Oh boy, here we go.
So last game we saw a very heavy roach aggression from I Am True. It didn't actually do anything. This game he's going to be trying a Baneling attack. I don't know if he's going to be going for a bust or just try to run around and take out as many workers as possible. I think Yoda will be safe to this because Siege Mode is finished, so he will be able to take out a lot of the Zerglings and Banelings before they actually do any damage. He's also going to be able to counter with the medevac drop.
Yeah, I think this drop is going to hit just about when the Banelings do. I think the Banelings might get there a little bit early. Looks like he's actually going for the barracks. He's not even going for the supply depot. Never mind, he is. No, now he is. No, now he isn't. Oh, all those SCVs running into the Banelings. Oh, no, that bunker does go down as well. And I think that it's going to get cleaned up. But, man, all the SCVs at the Natural, those Marines just standing there in stunned silence. They're like, did you guys hear about what happened at the Natural? All the SCVs, man, all of them.
All the SCVs did get taken out at the Natural, but the defenses are still up while still hurt, and this drop is going quite well. Marines plus a medevac can do quite a bit of damage. However, they all died very quickly too. I think that was a Baneling? Or they all just did damage really fast. Either way, the worker count is very similar now, so it was a nice trade-off for both players. A lot of hurt Marines here. The hurt tank was actually being repaired, which is something you always want to do. Repairing a unit, if it had one life back to full, is only 25% of the cost of the full unit normally. So you always want to repair.
Being repaired by the bravest SCV in the world. He's got the most dangerous job living at that expansion, apparently. Now, we did see True take a third as well during all that. So if that can get up and running, that'll definitely help quite a bit. The timing is very good for the third. He just did a lot of damage to Terran, or at least scared him a lot. He's going to stay in his base, and that's a good chance to take another part of the map for yourself.
That is very true. And we also see that Terran, knowing that he won the last game because of superior upgrades, is starting already on a +1 for the bio. However, Zerg is learning from this